So are you starting on another book then, or you have plans coming up this year of something new?
Well, I definitely want my goal and my desire is to get Predestined published. And being in the library, there is a huge desire for me to be published. Uh, it's very easy these days to self-publish, and I think that that is great. Just writing a book and self-publishing is amazing. But because I have that background in libraries and I've read, peer review articles or just reviews about works that have been published, I am so driven and so committed to seeing this be published. So I'm not doing anything. I haven't been writing any more recently. I do have a few ideas for some children's picture books that I want to write, because that's also another way where I would like to go. I was a youth librarian for 7 years, and so several years, I should say. And so within that time, I came across so many picture books that were really just even inspiring for myself as an adult. So that's an arena that I want to tap into. And so my mother had them, and I had them. And so it was the expectation that my son would have them. And
Mm.
so there was also the expectation with these white shoes that you were giving to a toddler that you were going to have to keep them clean. Like they needed to be clean, because if they weren't clean, then your mom card was being pulled. Like my grandmother and mom didn't play. Like, his shoes aren't clean, Jasmine, your mom card is in question. Like, it's being pulled. It's revoked. Okay, it's revoked. And in the grand scheme of this, right, there are so many other developmental things that go into being a mom than your kid having a freaking perfect pair of white shoes.
For sure. All right, great. Welcome everyone. Joining me today for another episode of Define Your Purpose is Jasmine Parker. And Jasmine is a writer and content creator out of Southfield, Michigan. Um, Jasmine, thanks so much for joining me today on here and sharing with everybody. Appreciate your company.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karl, for the invitation. I'm excited and humbled to be here.
Great, great, awesome. Well, purpose is the birthplace of ideas, and so I like to ask people how they get started in what they do, and so I'm wondering um, how you got into uh, helping people the way you do.
Yes, so I got started into writing as a way of by means of an outlet.
Mm,
And I was a kid at 8 who was going to her mom asking if I could be one of the kids who was going to acting auditions in Hollywood, because I knew at a very young age that I had a love for acting and the arts and entertainment. And it was not something that my mom invested in within me at the time. And so there were so many ideas, so many characters, so many stories that were just being kept within me, kind of me acting out through creative play and a very active imagination as an only child that just kind of lay there. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I had an opportunity to do my first play. I grew up, in the church. I'm still a Christian to this day, but at that time, that was like the first opportunity that I had to really let out what was within. And it just it birthed something inside of me. It would still take me probably another 10 years or so before I even tapped into writing for the stage.
mm,
I was doing the journaling, and I did an essay once that just explored the hardships of a situation financially that my mom and I had undergone. But again, it wasn't until I was well within my young adult years that I started to tap into creating writing as a way for people to enjoy by means of entertainment. And I think that it really just came from me sitting with all of this stuff and just needing to get it out.
Awesome. That's great. So I know it takes a lot of practice as well. So how did you really hone your craft then after you started writing plays and writing in general more for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I spent a lot of time, probably not used very wisely, watching a lot of movies. And so I consumed movies for several summers, just like day in and day out. So by the time I was in theater school, because my bachelor's degree is in theater, and I was immersed with, acting classes and character development, I had studied from the greats of just watching films, Lost Boys, and just so many other movies that just really spoke to me and really um, entertained me when I was younger. But I would say, when we were in theater school, there were the Samuel French playbooks. And so those were the scripts, if you will. And so I got a chance to see like the breakdown for the what the script would need to look like and how it should be formatted at least. I had the emotion, pretty much underway, I guess, just from years of kind of suppressing all of this creative energy and just life that was on the inside of me. But once I got into school and got that formal training, it really gave me the template of how to write and how I wanted to develop the characters. Teaching me about stage directions and things of that nature. And I ended up working with a collaborative theater group that was also a part of my church, but we did that on the outside, like doing small box theater performances during the summer. So all of that went into the development of me being a playwright. And then outside of me being a playwright and just me, writing and blogging, that has just been largely influenced from life. Being here for 39 years and all of the rich experiences that I have to date really have been able to help me to process, to heal, to evaluate by means of writing.
Awesome. Awesome. So, um, what are some of your greatest things that you've written so far, or maybe your favorite things that you worked on?
I would say one of my one of my favorites is a play that I did. And at the time, the play was called Family, and it was supposed to be this creative way of how I saw a family overcoming mental illness. And the play has been changed to date to being Praying Wolves Pray. And so praying as in Preying. And it deals heavily with the Cherokee culture. There is a clan
Mhm.
within the Cherokee culture that is known as the Wolf Clan. And so I use that as a way to just speak to this family's experience with their loved ones battle overcoming schizophrenia. And it is something that is inspired by actual events. It really is this biopic, if you will, as it relates to the relationship between myself and my dad. And it was inspired by an actual situation where I needed to go to court to intervene to have him involuntarily hospitalized. And writing was the way that I was able to cope with that, right? Because it was pretty traumatic. There were
Yeah.
a lot of feelings about this with my family not liking the turnout and how things ended up playing out. But I was really, doing it out of concern for his safety. And so it became this play. And so it was something that was produced 10 years ago, which is very wild to believe that this play is a decade old, but it is still something. I've done it twice in community theater and it's been well received, but it's one of those things where it has not gotten the right amount of publicity and marketing that it needs to really take it to where I believe it can go.
Mm.
And so The third time, which is the next time that I plan on doing it, I really am trying to knock the ball right out of the park, which is why I'm not rushing it. These things can be very expensive, and so I'm not trying to rush it. But the very exciting thing about this is that I love musical theater. It probably is something that a lot of my fellow co-students didn't know about me at the time when I was in college pursuing theater. And so I have written songs for Praying Wolves Pray. And that's something that is completely different than what I did 10 years ago. There were no songs in it
Mm,
because I didn't want it to be that kind of a play. But it very much, I think, is better because there are songs added to it that I've written. This is the first time that I have dabbled into songwriting and playwriting. So I'm extremely proud about that. So I would say that that is like my baby as it relates to the theater. Outside of theater, I've written my first book, which is called Predestined, and it really deals with the last 12 years of my life in a sense. It was inspired, ironically enough, from an 8-day trip that I made out west to California the end of last year. What was supposed to take me 2 days to get to California took me 5 days. Keep in mind, I went during the winter season. Like, I literally left on the Greyhound bus Christmas evening thinking that I was going to get to LA 2 days later
mm.
amidst blizzards and storms. And it just turned into this wonderful idea for a book and for my first book. So I'm excited about those two works, which really I think are such grounding and shaping moments and uh, just times of my life that I think really, I don't want to say encapsulated, but it definitely defines a period and a time of my life that has been definitely life changing in both instances.
That's really awesome. That's great. That must be so rewarding to see your own play acted out on the stage and everything. Um, and then to create the tunes to go with it. I mean, that's real multimedia artwork there. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So, are you starting on another book then, or you have plans coming up this year of something new?
Well, I definitely want my goal and my desire is to get Predestined published. And being in the library, there is a huge desire for me to be published. Uh, it's very easy these days to self-publish, and I think that that is great. Just writing a book and self-publishing is amazing. But because I have that background in libraries and I've read, peer review articles or just reviews about works that have been published. I am so driven and so committed to seeing this be published. So I'm not doing anything. I haven't been writing any more recently. I do have a few ideas for some children's picture books that I want to write because that's also another way where I would like to go. I was a youth librarian for 7 years, and so several years, I should say. And so within that time, I came across so many picture books that were really just even inspiring for myself as an adult. So that's an arena that I want to tap into. But right now, I've just been really trying to grow my YouTube channel and also just growing my podcast. I do a podcast as well. It's called Right to Heal, and HEAL is an acronym for Hope, Evolve, Acknowledge, and Learn. And basically, just taking experiences through life and looking at different scriptures that have been meaningful to my experience, my journey, and seeing how I can find ways of hoping, evolving, and acknowledging and learning whatever it is that that verse may mean and how it has played in with my life. So I've been doing that just as a way, as an outlet, because I have all of these ideas and all of this creativity, and so I'm really just trying to get these things started so that I am not sitting on all of the gifts and talents that I have.
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Have you helped other people do writing as well? Because I know you've done some coaching as maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for that. So, it's funny, as a parent, I do use writing as a way to help my son just kind of process things in life that could be challenging, things that he may not want to talk about. He's
Mhm.
getting to that age where he is not as forthcoming with information as he used to be. And
Mhm.
so I find that writing really kind of helps to bridge that gap. And sometimes I don't allow him to share everything that he's written with me, but depending on the nature of it, I will ask that he shares it just because I think that it's a great way of expressing what he may not want to express verbally right away, just writing it out. But outside of that, I did do a 21-day writing prompts challenge where I was encouraging people to write through my ministry, Right to Heal. When it comes to coaching, though, my coaching business is Once Upon a Stone. And so it is my desire that with this coaching program, I have an opportunity to encourage people to write. I have not been able to do that just yet. I just launched it. I just hit a month of when I launched. I actually launched it this month. So it's kind of
Awesome.
wild to think about how fast time is flying. But it writing is definitely a component for Once Upon a Stone.
Awesome. That sounds great. I I know journaling is also a really good way to um, reveal a lot of the answers that are already inside of you. Is that something that you help your clients with?
Yes, it's definitely something that, like I said, it is a component within my coaching program. So, Once Upon a Stone, the whole rhyme or reason for it, more or less, is to really help individuals who are struggling with work life imbalance. If you have identity issues, if you see yourself by what you do as opposed to just who you are, and just healthy boundary setting, all of these things. And this is definitely something that you would be able to explore more and to develop tools and resources to overcome through my coaching program. And so, journaling prompts are absolutely ways in which we target this, we address this. There are 4 stages within the Once Upon a Stone coaching program, with the first one being red means stop. Obviously, that's looking at the signs. Where am I? What's happening? Dealing with the danger signs before you proceed and without caution, right? And so that stage is defined by the ruby stone because it's red, it's getting your attention. Then we have the surrender to stillness, and that's going to be citrine. That's the stone, and it's more or less recognizing, okay, you're no longer in the danger zone, but recognizing what perhaps got you there and working through the development of getting out of that. So again, journal prompts that are geared towards helping with those mindset shifts and really helping to establish healthier boundaries so that we're not making our way back into the danger zone. From that stage would be the third stage, which is glow up, and the stone for that is emerald because it's working our way through wholeness. Okay, now that we're out of the danger zone and we are done with the development of being in the danger zone and not going back, making our way to wholeness and healing and what's needed for that. And then the last stage is stage 4, which is rainbow ever after, and that's the diamond stage because it's just more or less saying that even though I've made it to my promised land, I'm in this rainbow, that every day is not going to be a rainbow. Sometimes it may be a thunderstorm, it may be a tornado, it may be a tsunami, but hopefully by this 4th stage, you will have gotten the tools so that you're able to navigate these things. Having those relationships and the accountability is very helpful. And so all of those 4 stages, they're going to include writing prompts and opportunities for clients to pursue and really discover and sit with how they got where they are, and so that they can be their most truest self. And this is a faith-based coaching program. It is something that is really deeply personal to me as a woman who has lived this. My coaching program is very unique in the sense that this isn't anything that was just kind of it's not in a cookie jar, cookie cutter. This is real life, real pain, real trauma that I've had to address over the last 2 years as a woman who was working full time in libraries, library management, in a very unhealthy marriage, walking away from that marriage with nothing but really the clothes on my back and somewhat of a mind. It wasn't sound at that point in time,
Mm.
and then navigating a divorce, navigating co parenting, and then walking away from a career that had really become my identity. And so, this coaching program is not something that I'm just doing because I'm trying to get uh, for financial purposes or anything. It is really trying to come alongside people to help them do life, because I have been in some very dark places. And if I can help just one person even to recognize that you don't have to stay there, then it's worth it. So again, this is something that is near and dear to my heart. This is nothing that is cookie cutter by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I totally believe you have to coach yourself first. I went through a lot of personal growth, and I had a lot of problems also, and I found my way through, and I think when you can create a system around your own recovery like that, it makes it so meaningful and powerful. And I think when you go to help people with something like that, it really it makes a huge difference in my experience.
Yes. Yes.
So, what are you looking forward to this year the most? Do you have any success stories that come to mind that you're really happy about, or do you have any goals that you want to try to accomplish in the coming year?
If I said I had a success story, it would be that I have been able to take the time to heal.
Mm,
I think we live in a very fast paced world, a culture, a society that tells us if we're not busy, if we're not moving, then we're not effective.
mhm,
And to
right.
be able to sit still and to really ask myself, Jasmine, who are you? To really sit still and to pray and allow God to open my eyes to who He says I am, and to answer to daughter first and everything else second is a success for me.
Mm,
And I think losing everything, walking away from a full time job, walking away from a marriage, walking away from a home, my value system is not going to be perhaps what somebody else's is who hasn't done that.
mm,
And so I would love Karl to sit here and tell you, oh, my success story is that I got the job that I interviewed for. My success story is that I'm moving out and I have my own home. My success
mhm,
story is that I finally got my own vehicle. But my success story is that despite whatever trauma, whatever trial that I've been through, that I'm here, that I'm in my right frame of mind, that I'm
yeah,
healthy, my son is healthy, he's happy, and those are definitely wins to me, especially
mm,
being a divorced woman with a son who was born from a union that ended in divorce.
mm,
And the fact that it has not robbed him of his character, it has not robbed him of
mm,
his joy. Like, that is absolutely the success for me. What I am hoping for this year, as I am approaching 40 and some odd, like maybe 26, 27 days or so, I am hoping that I find myself with my first writing job, because
mm,
it's a very big leap of
okay.
faith to go from, working in libraries to being on a break for a year to kind of explore and create.
Mhm,
But within that year, I've created over 300 videos because I had time, I
oh,
had the ability to do this, and I really believed in myself that no matter how many views I got, no matter the success of the views or not, that I had the faith to believe in myself to say, you can do this, Jasmine. And so I would say if there are things that I want to see this year, definitely that writing job, and then working on a publishing deal for Predestined are the two big things that I'm hoping for this year. So
yeah, yeah. Right on. That's awesome. Definitely cheering for you there.
Thank you.
Um, so, um, who is your ideal client in your coaching? And what kind of clients do you work with, or who are you looking for to work with generally?
Yes, and thank you so much for asking that, because as I was sitting here, another thing, in addition to the writing job, in addition to the publishing deal for Predestined, I absolutely want Once Upon a Stone to be able to be something, the coaching program that comes alongside people to help people. So my
Hmm,
ideal
great.
client
Hmm.
my ideal client is definitely going to be someone who is just stressed, burnt out, looking for resources, looking for a way of being able to identify, hey, what is this that is in my life that is stopping me from moving forward?
Hmm.
Once Upon a Stone, I didn't do this intentionally, but as I've been thinking about it over time, when we think about a stone, like depending on how big it is, some stones seem to be pretty immovable. Like it can't be moved, it's there, and what are you going to do about it? And so, just from a biblical standpoint, a biblical context, when it came to the stone that was over the tomb that covered the tomb where Jesus laid, and then it's removed, there's this whole notion of like, well, how did it get removed? I mean, the Jewish leaders put it there so that Jesus couldn't leave from the tomb. And so when I think about a stone in a metaphorical way and just a figurative way, I should say, that stone could be fear. That stone could be doubt. That stone could be
Hmm.
shame. That stone could be condemnation. That stone could be failure. What is the stone in your life that feels immovable?
Hmm.
And when you know what it is, then that's part of my coaching program, is helping people to know what your stone is. Let's identify it. Let's get it out of the way. Let's kick its butt so that you can move into your destiny, becoming the you that you were always predestined to be. And so I think that if there is any doubt about identity, if you're doing a job and it's just like you're doing a job, but you don't feel like it's a calling, then this coaching program is absolutely for you to discover, who did God say he wanted me to be? What are some things that I have in me, and it just doesn't seem like they're moving and they're going anywhere? Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get that stone moved out of the way so that you can go on to become the you that you're supposed to be.
Great, great. I love that. That's awesome. I hope you can reach a lot of people with that. Are you do you know when you're going to be publishing that then? Is that you said in a couple months?
You know what? It is my prayer that it is. I have sent it off. It's been approved, but publishing takes money. It's not cheap to publish, and I totally get that. So I'm hopeful that Predestined can definitely serve as that guide to people to help them move in the direction of where they're supposed to be. And it's definitely something that will be a part of my coaching program, just because again, it's that lived experience, and it's definitely helping people to, confront and see ways of how they can recognize that they've been predestined. A lot of times for a
Mhm.
lot of people, they end up doing things, and I used to be one of them because I was a big people pleaser. And so, calling all people pleasers out there, no shame, no judgment, but just breaking away from that so that you can discover, hey, what am I meant to do? I know that this makes this person happy or that person happy, but I wasn't here to make people happy. I
Mhm.
was put here with an assignment to perhaps help people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make people happy, because my purpose is bigger than sometimes a person's happiness. Happiness can be a choice. And so I just think that, Predestined is going to work very well with the coaching program to really emphasize like getting to your purpose, getting to your why. Why are you here? What are you here to do? Let's help you do it with Once Upon a Stone and Predestined.
Nice. Awesome.
Thank you.
And I know with you mentioned people pleasers um the trap I think is that you get sucked into always doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, and people tell you that you should be doing, and then you end up spending your whole life basically not thinking about what you want. So I wonder how you help someone who has never really even thought about what makes them happy and what they really want.
I think that's a great question. I think just in thinking about my own life and assessing as it relates to how I have been a people pleaser, I really, I think, made this excuse for myself that I didn't have a choice.
Mm.
Right? I
Yeah.
didn't have a choice. I'm doing this for this person, I'm doing this for this person or that person, but I didn't have a choice. And I think
Mhm.
the first thing that I needed to do was to take accountability for the fact that no, you absolutely have a choice. You
Mm.
have a choice as it relates to letting your yes be a yes or your no be a no.
Mm.
You are not responsible for somebody else's happiness. You are not responsible for how someone feels about your choice, but you are responsible for making a choice. You're responsible for making a choice as it relates to continuing to do things that are not serving you, but are serving others, or to choose to do something that's going to be beneficial for you. And I
Mm.
think when I thought about it in that context and I held myself accountable for making those hard decisions and saying no and dealing with my issues with codependency, because I found that a lot of my people pleasing spoke to codependency. It spoke
Mm.
to my need to be okay if somebody else was okay, as opposed to Jasmine just being okay because Jasmine's
Mm.
okay regardless of how someone else is.
Mhm.
And so those are things that I was not raised to do. I
Mm.
was not raised to be okay if my parent wasn't okay.
Mm.
If I was raised in a single parent household, and so if my mom was emotional and upset, that tended to fall on me because she gave it to me. And so I
Mm.
grew up thinking that I had to carry false burdens and responsibilities that were not my own. And so one of the things in getting out of that trap as an adult is to remind myself, okay, you have a choice. I know that it may feel like you don't, but feelings sometimes can be a lie, they can be deceptive. You have a choice. Choose to say yes, choose to say no, and then deal with how that choice perhaps affects you without feeling responsible for how somebody else chooses to allow it to affect them.
Mm.
So one of the things that I really try to work on doing is not telling people, you made me do this. Unless you put a gun to my head, you didn't make me do anything. I had a choice. Now, I may have felt that I was influenced or pressured into doing something, but you didn't make me do it. And so just really dealing with that issue of codependency for me has really helped me to be able to break free from the bondages of people pleasing and
Mm.
to really ensure that I'm not raising my son to be a people pleaser or to be codependent, you know,
Mm.
that and I tell my son if I give him an opportunity to make a choice and he'll say, well, will this make you sad? And I'll say to him, it doesn't matter if it makes me sad. If this is what you want to do, then I'm going to honor that because you're not here for my happiness. And I think unfortunately, especially as a parent, sometimes our kids don't know that. I wasn't a kid who was told, hey, you're not here for my happiness, you
Yeah.
know? And so
Yeah.
just carrying this false sense of responsibility and then codependency is formed because there are not healthy boundaries.
Mm.
And if I'm going to be healthy, if I'm going to be happy, I absolutely need to be able to have boundaries, healthy boundaries that
Yeah.
may piss some people off, but they'll get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I think another thing that kind of holds people back that we pick up over our lives from others is perfectionism.
Mm.
I feel like a lot of people really get stuck with that, especially when if they're trying to um, be entrepreneurs later in life, then it can really put a damper on taking action. Is that something that you have helped your clients with, and what has worked for you?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Perfectionism is a very big piece of my coaching program, and especially as I think about my own journey with perfectionism and this need of always needing to feel that I was on, you know, And I'll share a brief story with this because it's so, in the grand scheme of things, it's so nonsensical. But for the time of, well, I guess during the time of my mother being a kid, and then me being a kid, and then me, having a child, my grandmother has been very particular about the first pair of walking shoes that her children had. So
Mm,
these white walking shoes that were from Stride Rights that really solidified your kid walking and you being a mom, like you being the
mm,
real deal. And so my mother had them and I had them. And so it was the expectation that my son would have them. And
mm,
so there was also the expectation with these white shoes that you were giving to a toddler that you were going to have to keep them clean. Like
mm,
they needed to be clean. Because if they weren't clean, then your mom card was being pulled. Like my grandmother and mom didn't play. Like his shoes aren't clean, Jasmine. Your mom card is in question. Like it's being pulled. It's revoked. Okay. It's revoked. And in the grand scheme of this, right, there are so many other developmental things that go into being a mom than your kid having a freaking perfect pair of white shoes,
for sure.
you know?
Hmm.
But there was so much emphasis and so much stress as a new mom for my,
Mm,
personally speaking, that went into trying to keep these shoes clean, where there were so many other dynamics of family history that were going to be a lot more disastrous if I didn't break away and know who I was supposed to be as a mom, as opposed to conforming to the perfect white pair of shoes for my son. And so I
mm,
share that to say that perfectionism for me sometimes isn't even just addressing the things that I sometimes struggle with needing to be on, but addressing things that have been passed down. Like, what is the expectation? The expectation is this is the level, this is how we deliver it. And if you don't deliver it this way, then you know what, you're dropping the ball, you're slipping. But really getting to the root of why we feel like we need to deliver it that way. Like, who says that that's the way that it's supposed to be? Who sets that standard? And
mhm,
so within my coaching program, it's really pulling back these layers to uncover the truth. Who set these standards? Who set this? Where is this voice coming from? Where is this
mm,
thought coming from? Because if this is not something that is functional, if this is not even something that is real or practical, then why are we continuing to allow it to live, to eat, to breathe, to sleep, to rest in us? And this isn't something that is was ever meant for us to carry. It got passed down. We believed it, and now it's just something that we do, and just breaking free from that. And one of the ways that I've done that is to take a lot more opportunities to rest. I've seen my mother just run, run, run. I've seen people in my life just run, run, run because they felt like they needed to be on, they felt like they needed to deliver. And then when it comes to show up for themselves, they've got nothing to give. They're tired, they're
mm,
stressed, they're anxious. And it's like, it's okay sometimes to not be okay. It's okay to not do anything and stay in your pajamas all day if you don't have anything on your calendar or your schedule, and to not pretend like everything's okay. If the picket fence is white, maybe it's dirty, maybe it's faded, whatever it is, but to not be afraid to show the flaws. And we live in a world sometimes where the more people know about you, they'll take it and they'll misuse it or abuse it. But knowing what to share, like having that discretion, not having the shame or fear about whatever comes out, because you recognize that you need to see yourself as being human and not as being perfect. So it's a lot of inner work that we do within Once Upon a Stone to kind of, again, pull back those layers to, combat some of those truths.
that's great. Awesome. So how long does that take then? Do you have a set time that you usually manage to push the different levels with people, or is it always different?
Yes. So the recommended time is a 12-year, a 12-year. Jasmine, no, nobody has 12 years. No, it's not 12 years. Okay. 12 months.
Okay.
That's recommended commitment going through all four stages of the program. And so if clients do that, then that's going to give you 3 months of each stage, right? 3 months of red means stop, surrender to stillness, glow up, and rainbow ever after. But if people just don't have the year commitment to make, and keep in mind with the year commitment, there are books that we read, we process and go through together to really go through this deeply, so that we are combating and coming out of this better and healed and whole. But if people can't commit to that, then the next thing would be a 3 month commitment. Each stage would be a 3 month commitment. So if there's qualifications and criteria, when I meet with a client, doing that initial intake of like, where are you? And, they may say, well, I think rainbow ever after is where I want to be. But if they are showing more signs of being in red means stop, then the recommendation is going to be made for them to be there. That's a 3 month process. And then after we, commit to doing that for 3 months, then we can work our way down the rest of the stages. But this program is not designed to just place people where they just want to be. And if there's not the awareness, the really, how can I put this? The truth of the matter of where they are in life. I'm not really interested in just putting people through because that's just where they want to be. If there's, things that need to be uncovered that haven't been uncovered, going through surrender to stillness and working our way to rainbow to ever after, and not just ending up in rainbow ever after because you just want to be done with it. I can only make the recommendations to people, but again, each stage is at least a 3 month commitment.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. So is this all in an overview that you offer on your website, or how do people get information about how the program works?
Yes, absolutely. And so, what I would recommend at this time, if you're interested in learning how the program works, definitely feel free to check out my LinkedIn page. That's going to be under my name, Jasmine Parker. Also, that's how Karl found me, is on LinkedIn. On my profile, you're going to see Once Upon a Stone, and there is a pretty in depth brochure that provides information about what this program is, who it is. Who it is able to service, and just the breakdown of it, and also contact information there. The email that is assigned to the LinkedIn brochure is hergloriousgarden@gmail.com. But again, if you head over to my LinkedIn page and if you view my profile page, you'll be able to see the booklet. And if you're interested, and I hope that you are, you can take it from there.
Awesome. Great. Great. Fantastic. Is there anything maybe we didn't get to, or that you wanted to include in our discussion today, or anything you wanted to leave people with?
I just want to say thank you so much, Karl, for this opportunity. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the platform. This is my first time being invited to be on a podcast, and I'm very excited and humbled by the invitation. So again, thank you so much for that. And for those who are listening, I hope something that was said in this video or this podcast encourages you and allows you to know that you don't have to wait until 2025 to be the you that you want to become, to start working on being your better self, and really uncovering some of those truths and getting into some of those uh, problems and pain and traumas. Like, you don't have to put that off. You can start that now.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in my life coaching services, great. But if you're not, I just hope that you don't wait until the end of this year or the beginning of next year to get started on becoming your best self.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding your purpose, hopefully. I,
Yes,
I like to say, when we walk with purpose, we collide with destiny.
I love that.
Well, thanks again for taking the time. It's really great talking with you, Jasmine. I hope we can maybe catch up again sometime after a while, and check in and have another discussion, see how things are going.
Oh, yes, yes, I would love that. I would definitely love to do that, Carl. Absolutely. Let's stay connected. This was
Great,
awesome.
great, awesome. Thank you so much.
Um,
Have a great week ahead too.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.